Hey guys, welcome back to my sewing room. My name is Amanda. If you haven't been here before, if you have, welcome back. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to make this jumper. It is a bridal jumpsuit with a transparent corset and crepe pants with pockets. This is kind of a finish off video to this video that I posted over a year ago on my channel. I decided to go ahead and finally finish it off. It has the transparent corset. You guys know how I do with that, but I made it differently this time because I added straps to it, which I've never done before, and I've also added the illusion mesh panel in the middle. I've also done a pair of pants. Oh my god, y'all, pants. If you guys are interested in learning how or seeing the vlog process of how I drafted my basic pants pattern, check my last video on my channel, and I will link it above here for you guys to see the mock-up process of getting a really good fitted pants, especially when you got a big tummy, okay? I also decided to do a detachable train for this. I don't have it on now, but I will insert some video of me with it on. I love this detachable train. I didn't have enough fabric to do a super long train, but it does do its job. So I hope you guys really enjoy this video as much as I enjoyed making this for you guys. If you guys haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Also turn on notifications so you guys can be notified every time I post a new video. If you guys are interested in learning how I drafted this sewing pattern from start to finish, as well as all of the other sewing patterns on my channel and one exclusive members only video a month, make sure to hit the join button down below to join the Mom That Sews family. Now let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to first start off by doing our bustier bodice, okay? And yes, I'm calling it a bustier. I've had some haters in the comments telling me that I'm not using the right terminology and being really nasty about it, but it is what it is. I'm going to call it bustier. If it's not, sue me, okay? We're going to start off with the bustier bodice, and I am going to do the cups. I've already got one cup assembled here, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do the other cup. I'm going to start by lining it the same way that we do in all of my other bustier videos. If you guys are interested, I'll link a playlist above here. I think it's actually on this side. I'll link a playlist above here for you guys to see my corset making tutorials playlist, okay? So I'm going to start by putting my lining in. I'm going to baste all the way around that, and then what's different this time is I wanted, you know, bra foam has that really light tan, and obviously the girl's chocolate, right? I'm not light tan, so I had some brown lycra in my stash that I decided to go ahead and use as the base fabric to change the color of my cups. So I went ahead and overlaid that on the outside and basted that around as well. And then I went ahead and then I took the V insert, the illusion mesh panel here, and I sandwiched it in between, making sure I matched it up at the edge. I sandwiched it in between the cup and the actual fashion fabric that's going to be overlaid, and then I sewed that together. I'd made a boo-boo at first, so I had to seam rip it and then go ahead and do it again, and then it was perfect. And then I decided to go ahead and finish off the cups. So I just did it really quickly. All you have to do is flip it to the outside, trim down that seam allowance, and then baste it all the way around. I'm being very nonchalant with this whole cup making process just because if you guys watch my videos, you've seen me do this so many times. After I finish the cups off, I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling the actual corset. This corset is a little bit different because I decided not to do French seams, which I have no idea why I did that. Honestly, I was lazy and didn't feel like eyeballing the 3/4 of an inch seam allowance, but that's neither here nor there. So I decided to go ahead and do 1/2 inch because I was previously planning on using Ridgeline boning to actually top stitch on all my boning channels instead of using boning casings. And then I realized all I had was black Ridgeline boning, which was not gonna work for this purpose, so I had to improvise. Then I realized, Oh, I can use some strips, straight grain strips of corset mesh to create the casings. So I do have a center front seam on this. I decided to go ahead and press that open, and then I just used a 1 inch. So I just cut a whole bunch of 1 inch strips of corset mesh, and then I sewed it to the seam allowance, flipped it out, and then created a boning casing like that. I did that to all of my seams, and this just created all of the boning channels that were on the actual seams. I did one on either side of the center front seam too, because I wanted to be very supporting to my bust. And as you can see, I'm very supporting to my bust, okay? And I am a 36D, so I feel like if you have a bigger bust than me, you'll be supported as well. I also decided to add some diagonal supportive bones, and I did that with just a regular boning casing that I've double folded twice with my iron and just top stitched onto the corset mesh. Most of the bones I sewed, like the intermediate bones, I did sew, intermediate meaning my diagonal bones, I sewed on the corset mesh before I put the sequin fabric on top, just because I didn't want to have the smallest amount of top stitching visible on this corset as possible. So I did do that because I knew I wasn't going to put any lace to cover anything up. And then I went ahead and sewed the rest of my seams throughout the entire corset. Once that is done, I did take it over to my ironing table and gave it a really good press. And this is what it looks like when it's almost finished. I'm also going to work on the back. So this is my 2 back pieces that I've already sewn the princess seam, and now I just took the seam allowance and I turned it to one side, and now I'm top stitching on a boning casing. Now I'm going to put the bodice together, so I'm sewing the side seams here, and then I'm going to flip the seam allowance towards the back and sew top stitch our boning casings. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add all of my boning to it, and then do a stay stitch that is within my seam allowance all the way around the entire corset, to make sure that my boning is not coming out the top or coming out the bottom, and then to make sure that everything is staying in place as far as like my neckline goes. And the top portion I don't want to warp out of place, so doing a stay stitch is really important here. Before I finish up the bodice though, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my pants, because I know the pants are going to go by very quickly. So the first thing I did was take my patterns off of my pants pieces, making sure to mark all of my notches, because I don't make pants that often, so I do want to make sure that everything is aligned how it's supposed to be. Then I sewed all of the seams of the pants. So you want to sew your center front seam, your center back seam, make sure to leave some open on your center back. I like to leave 10 inches of below my waist open, because that's about at my hip line, a little bit under, and then sew the rest of that inseam. And then you want to sew your side seams and obviously put it all together to create the pants. also going to pin together my darts at the back. I forgot to mention that. We do have darts on our back. We have 2 of them. So I'm going to pin those together and sew those down, and make sure to, instead of back stitching at the end of my dart, I'm going to tie off my thread. And then I'm going to continue assembling my pants. I'm adding my pocket and basting that on. And then I'm just going to continue with the assembly process. Once the pants are sewn, you want to take it over to the serger. I didn't serge it because I really didn't feel like threading my serger. Y'all know I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, right? But I would, if this was for a client, I would serge all of the seams to keep everything nice and clean, and then press them all to one side, preferably towards the back. You also want to serge your inseams, are they called inseams? Your center front seam and your center back seam. You want to serge those separately and then press them open so you can have the flattest lay in the front, okay? So make sure that you're pressing. You do not want to skip this. While I was over at my ironing table, I also decided to press like a permanent crease into the center of my pants. So all I did was fold the pants, kind of, you know how you old school ironing, you're ironing your pants for church and stuff like that. I decided to fold it down, or if you're in the military, y'all know, fold it so it has the crease line in the front and the back, and then I really gave it a ton of steam and really pressed that crease in place. Okay, so now it's time to put it all together. I'm taking my pants here and I'm matching it with my bodice at the waistline. I'm going to match my side seams first and then place pins all the way around. And then I'm going to sew my waistline with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And this is what it looks like once the bodice is onto the skirt. I have a little bit bunching on one side, but I think I can press this out. Excuse the fro. My hair is not done when I'm doing my work. And this is what the back looks like. I think it looks very clean. It looks really good. I'm very proud of myself as far as the pants go. I had a lot of issues with fitting the pants, but this actually looks really good, nice and smooth over my stomach, and I don't even have on shapewear with this. So I think this looks really good, and you guys can see my sway back here, how the front is where it's at, and then the back kind of goes a little bit higher to accommodate my sway back, but I think it is perfectly fit, and I'm so glad that I fit myself like this. And this is what the sequin fabric looks like. Gorgeous. Once we have the pants assembled, pressed, and set to the side, we want to start working on our overskirt. Now, the overskirt is something that's actually very simple to make. I measured, let me back up so you can see. I measured from one of my diagonal bones here to the other diagonal bone here, and that I measured, you know, around the back to the other side, and I took the circumference of that. I believe it was like 26 or something like that. And then I plugged it into the circle skirt calculator, and I wanted a full circle skirt. So that gave me whatever the circumference of it was. And then I cut 1.5 circle skirts. So 1 full circle skirt and then a 1/2 circle skirt, which to give me the fullness that I wanted for this detachable train. You can add tulle and all other kind of stuff to make the train kind of puffy, but I decided I wanted this one to be a little bit more flat, a little bit more sleek, rather than having a full detachable ball gown train, which that'll be something for another video, right? So I sewed all of those seams. Pretty much the detachable train only has a center back seam for the crepe layer, the sequin layer, I didn't have enough of that fabric, so I really had to piece it together. I had to piece a full circle skirt and a half together with 6 different panels to be able to have enough fabric. So I pieced it together and it worked out. I literally had no fabric to spare, only scraps to cut out my bodice from. So I did that, and then I just put them both on the mannequin to see, let's be professional, the dress form, to see how it looks, and it looked really good, so I decided to keep going with it. Okay, so to finish off the waistline of your detachable train, you want to place your sequin layer right side to the wrong side of the crepe layer, and so up one side, across the waist, and down the other side. Then you want to trim that seam allowance. You want to understitch it all and then flip it out so that the good side of the crepe is still on the outside and your right side of the sequin is on the outside as well. All right, so this is our jumper. We're almost done. So all we have to do left, and excuse my transitional table, I just moved my sewing room into a new sewing space, a bigger sewing space, so I can have more space, obviously with the influx of materials and things that I have. But anyway, if you guys want to see a updated sewing studio tour when it's all finished, let me know down in the comment section below and I will film one. But all we have to do left with the jumper is hem it. So for the top, we're gonna hem everything with bias binding as per usual, like we do with all of our transparent corsets. And then for the bottom, we're just gonna go ahead and do a regular serge and then a narrow hem. Turn it up, top stitch it. You could hand stitch it as well. I'm not doing all of that. I think the top stitching looks perfectly fine with these kind of pants. And then give it a good press and a good steam. And then our jumpsuit is all finished. The only thing we have to finish is our detachable train. Okay, so yes, the top portion is turned in by about 3/4 of an inch. And then once it hangs, you want to do this hanging either on your client or on the dress form. So once it was hanging on my dress form, I picked another spot and I placed a pin there, so it's always turned over. And I'm gonna put another tailor tack there. And then sometimes you don't have to put one at the bottom, but sometimes you do. So obviously you need to do your hem first, and then you'll put another tailor's tack just to the crepe layer to keep that nice and secure where it's at. So every time you put on the skirt, it's already falling and like folds towards the body instead of you being able to see the finished edge. We do need to go ahead and hem this. I would recommend using horsehair to hem the whole bottom of, like a really soft horsehair, not that hard stuff. A really soft horsehair to hem the bottom of the sequin layer. And then this, I'm just going to serge it, turn it inwards one time, and then top stitch it. So I'm going to do all of that, and I will try to film the rest of that, but I'm already so behind on my timeline, I'm probably not going to talk through it. Okay, so for the bodice, I have a couple 1-inch strips of bias cut corset mesh here that I'm going to go ahead and use to finish off the neckline. And it's really easy. Do not let the curves of this intimidate you. It's the same way we finish off our regular transparent corset. So I'm going to start at my center back, and I'm going to pin all the way up, all the way to the side, up and around, and I'm stopping at my cup here, and then I'm going to sew that with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, trim that seam allowance down, understitch it, flip it to the inside, tuck in the raw edge, and then top stitch it down. I'm gonna do the same thing for the armhole and the other side. It's very, very simple. You just have to, when you get to that corner, the corner that we have on the back of this, you want to leave your needle down and pivot. And then when you're getting ready to turn everything to the inside, if you need to, just make a relief cut and separate the center back portion to the strap portion, and it'll turn in just fine and look very clean on the inside. I decided to just go ahead and serge the bottom, and then, well, you're supposed to serge the bottom. Remember, I didn't thread my serger. I pinked the bottom, but you want to serge the bottom, turn it in one time, and do it a nice, neat top stitch. What's going to make this top stitch look very clean is taking it over to the ironing table and giving it a good press with lots of steam. Same thing with this top piece here. For the overskirt, all I did was hem just the crepe layer. The sequin layer did not need to be hemmed, and I did leave it longer than the crepe layer. So all I did was serge the bottom, turn it in one time, and give it a top stitch, and then you also want to steam and press the entire hem. Oh my goodness, y'all, took me forever to hem that. But you want to steam and press the entire hem of that, and then we are all finished. Only a year later, right? Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I'm going to put the names of all of my channel members as well as my patrons up on the screen now for you guys to see. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. I really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate you guys more than you know, and I'll see you in my next one.